More and more companies have great data, only to find out that nobody is using them. Welcome to the podcast Data Hiring Talks. My name is Vincent Spruit, and today we talk about data literacy. What is it? And most importantly, why should we care? I invited Olivier Maugain, a data culturist currently working for IKEA, to help us understand this topic. But first, let me share some highlights from his career. You studied in Switzerland and got your doctor's degree on multicultural management. After a few years of work, you moved to China and stayed there for 14 years in mainly director positions with a strong focus on data analytics. Among others, you were CEO for Asia Analytics and Director Data Analytics for Deloitte. In 2017, you decided Amsterdam was the place to be, and you became Director Analytics and Digital Technology for Henkel, a global manufacturing company with over 30,000 employees. Finally, in 2021, you switched to your current role with IKEA as a decision intelligence manager. Now, you describe yourself in LinkedIn, however, as a data culturist, and I want to thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Vincent. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I've been looking forward to this call all week. I hear a lot of companies that have the struggle about data literacy and just that their employees are not understanding what they can do with it. Data architects make the nicest things or they have the greatest data, but it's not coming alive. But first, what is a data culturist?
Sure. So when you look at the definition of a culturist, right, it is somebody who's engaged in a culture. So an advocate of a particular method of cultivating the mind or the body. Now, when you transport this in the context of data, a data culturist would be someone who is passionate or dedicated to the development of a data-driven decision-making mindset. At least that's how I see myself. It's less of a job than of a lifestyle. I
Okay.
would like to say.
And what is if you go deeper into that, what is data culture and what is
Mm.
data literacy?
Culture, right? I'd have to start with a definition of culture. So I studied that very deeply in my PhD. And actually, did you know that some of the pioneers of multicultural research, right, were actually Dutch?
Hmm?
So
I'm not surprised.
well, you see, Gert Hofstede and von Strompenaars were two pioneers and iconic researchers in that field of multiculturalism and a culture as such.
Yeah.
And Trompenaars actually defined a culture as the way in which a group of people solves problems.
Yeah.
Very nice, crisp, very elegant definition. Of course, there are others, but I like it very much. And if you again transport this definition of culture into the world of data, then a data culture is nothing else than the way in which a group of people solves problems with data.
Yeah.
And so you have a whole spectrum of possibilities, right? You have people who do not use data at all for solving
Yeah.
problems, right? Based on their experience and their intuition, right? Or creativity. And there's nothing really wrong with that. On the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum, you can be very data driven in the way you solve problems, looking at patterns in the data or using machine learning to
Yeah.
make better decisions, etc. And so you have different levels of sophistication also. And I think that the data culture kind of is the how important data is in the way you are making decisions or thinking of data when making decisions or acting, right?
Yeah.
So
And
that's how
you
I
say
would define data
many
culture.
people are some people are using data a little bit of data. Some people are using data a lot. Some people are not using it at all. But most
Exactly.
people are generating data some way or another. If they are aware of it or not, even but just by using your cell phone, you're probably generating
Exactly.
data.
Exactly. So we are living in a world where data are being produced all day long, right?
Yeah,
At any time. We're always on, right? As
yeah,
consumers. If you take the bus, if you visit a website, if you buy something online, if you go to the doctor, data are being generated
yeah.
at any moment, right? And those companies who create this data, I mean, the companies who engage with their customers, right, own these data in a way. So you'd better fully harvest these assets, right?
So data literacy is basically that the people in organizations or people in general understand that there is data and that it can be used and what the value is of it.
Exactly. So to just to draw a parallel to culture, right? Culture is made of artifacts, of values, of ceremonies, right? But very often the language, right, is the vehicle of culture. So what would be the Dutch culture without the language, right?
Yeah.
Or the French culture, etc. So you need a language to kind of encapsulate some of these values to convey the culture. And so for data culture, the language is also data, right?
Yeah.
And in order to be able to speak and understand that language, you need to be literate, right? So if you want to learn
Yeah. Yeah.
to understand the culture or be part of the culture, you'd better know that language, right? It can be a national culture, a corporate culture, it can be a regional culture, a functional culture, but it's the same with data. So I would say that data literacy is a bit like what you said, the ability to read, understand, create, and communicate data as information. So data literacy summarizes all the competencies that one individual or organization may have when working with data. For example, knowing what data is, right, or what data are, the different types, the different formats, how to store, how to exploit data, how to interpret and present data, telling stories. On a more sophisticated level, you may
Yeah.
think of statistical analyses as one form of data literacy, down to deep learning or to the application of artificial intelligence, right? So there are different levels of data literacy,
Okay.
and some people are more sophisticated or more data literate than others.
But why do we need people to be more data literate? Why would organizations want that, and what's in it for them?
Well, you mentioned it before, right? Data are being created. They're all around us, right? And in my opinion, um, they constitute fantastic assets, right? And so for me, the ability to harvest these data, and in other words, the data literacy of an entire society or organization is a competitive advantage, right? So if you're not making good use of your data, you're losing a certain edge because others will be doing it, right?
Yeah.
So you have native digital companies, right? Like Amazon or
Yeah.
Facebook or Google. I would like to say that they are probably very literate, data literate as organizations, right? If you
Yeah.
take other companies who are a bit less data literate, they might be threatened, right? Because
Yeah.
they are not able to fully use these
It's a little
assets.
bit like having a super nice kitchen with the best knives and the best pans, but don't know how to cook.
Exactly,
And
right?
why have the best stuff? Why
Uh,
have the best ingredients?
Absolutely. And also, there is a certain awareness, right, of this. So CEOs and executives are being educated on the
Yeah.
use of data. They read about it every day in the media, right? But according to a survey from the software vendor Click, right, visualization BI,
Yeah.
82% of the respondents believe that greater data literacy give them a stronger professional credibility. So
Yeah.
there is a certain awareness that being data literate can help yourself as an individual to be more credible, but also probably also to make better decisions, right? I mean, people understand the value of data and the value of being data literate. But at the same time, the same survey said that 24% of the respondents, right, so decision makers, managers, etc., only 24% are fully confident in their own data literacy. Now, this survey was done in 2018, so about 5 years ago, but I'm quite sure that the gap between the perceived value and one's own level of data literacy is still quite big, right? So you are
Why do you think
asking.
that is? Why do you think there's a gap between everybody understands data literacy and between there not being data literate?
I I believe that it's like when you grew up, right, and you you've made, if you're an executive, for example, you must have made many things right, right? You have your experience, you have certain talent, you have your charisma, maybe to lead a company. You know your stuff, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about the explosion of data, right, and the availability of data, it's only rather recent. 10. It's been now probably 10 years that we've been talking about the so-called big data, right? You had
Yeah.
statistics and BI for much longer time than this, but is only recently that we are becoming really fully aware of data as an asset, right? And so, sometimes people do not see the necessity or the urgency of developing their data literacy, or
Maybe
maybe
also think they don't know how.
they don't know how, right? They are in their comfort zone. So,
Yeah.
but one thing I see, right, again and again, is that there is a certain myth around data, right, or around data science and analytics. So, people, I remember when I was at Henkel, right, one of the board members came to me and said, "Oh, you're the new analytics guy, right? You must be super smart." I have a business background, right? I was good in math and in school, etc., and numbers are my friends. But it's not that I am a genius or super smart, right?
Maybe you are
It's
and you underestimate yourself. That's also what I see with a lot of
no,
people.
I
It,
I don't think so. It's just that I'm making this effort of looking
yeah.
into data, and it takes a bit of changing your mindset, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you need to open some data sets and
Yeah.
look for trends. It takes some effort, but it's like when you want to be literate in a language, right? Or when you're a child, when you learn to read, you need practice. You need to
Yeah.
open books, right? You need to
Open discussions, talk about
this
with people,
exactly,
follow
and
podcasts.
well, for example, yes,
It's a good
exactly.
start.
But above all, it's about getting your hands dirty, as we say, right?
Yeah.
So opening a table, maybe looking at the data, visualizing it, and by doing so, you will you will be used to interpreting the data and telling story. And it's a fun journey, but it takes some kind of leap of faith and getting out of your comfort zone. And this is why I think that maybe many people have not seen the urgency or haven't discovered the fun of data. It is very fun. I think I've seen that with others who are a bit scared of data, but when they get into it, they you get the gist of it, and you get addicted to it. So it's fun.
And this is also one of your, maybe your not so much job, but roles in currently in IKEA. Maybe do you motivate people to really get into the data, to use it more, and how do you do that?
Yes, so that's one of my mandates, right? To drive the adoption of data in decision making, right? That's what I'm paid for. I have other colleagues who are trying to produce the data assets, right? Because you could
Yeah.
have a lot of very sophisticated or data literate users or employees, right? And they would be extremely disappointed if the data
Yeah.
were not there to
It's
be
a balance.
readily to be readily used, right? So these colleagues are working on this, and my job is to kind of on the other hand to motivate them to do that. So it's about inspiring them, right? So developing use cases and case studies, share them across the
Okay.
organization, and to show them that, with this use case, we saved this and that much money, or we were able to grow the business, grow sales.
So you're
So,
sending like an internal newsletter or something with the
for
use cases,
example,
or you
yeah,
you hang
yes.
it somewhere in the shops, and or
Yeah.
you make workshops. So what do you do?
So we do have a channel, right,
Okay.
on SharePoint, and there's a
Yeah, yeah,
what you would call a newsletter, and where we share case studies, stuff
yeah,
that my team is working on. But in a large company like IKEA, you have also a lot of innovation happening in the countries, right, in the stores,
yeah.
and sometimes we get some really cool case studies of stuff being done, in a store. There was a story
Do you have
about. Hmm?
do you have data on how many people are reading that? Like, because I see a lot of companies, they make like this nice use case, and then nobody's reading it because everybody's too busy, and they don't find the time to do it. I am gonna read it. I do want to read it, but
Yeah.
then I don't.
So about 15 minutes before our conversation started, right? I
Yeah.
was looking at the traffic or the viewership of that newsletter. Right. So as a data-driven guy, I feel obliged
Of course.
to
Yeah.
do that and to analyze the trends. And so we see overall a stable or growing reach, right? So we have more and more coworkers, employees are reading that, and the appetite for data and for inspiration, for learning how data can help their teams or themselves individually is enormous, right?
Okay.
So now, when you have converted those colleagues, right? We also need to enable them.
Yeah.
So we're working on, of course, we have training, right? We subscribe to online course libraries, and there is a bit of data content here and there, but we're also developing an upskilling a program where we are taking people from the operations, right, and
Yeah.
bring them into some kind of incubator, raise their data literacy and overall capabilities, and then let them work as analysts. I don't think that we're the only ones who do that.
Yeah.
It's quite, when you hear and listen to what's happening in other companies, it's very common. But the appetite, right? The desire among some employees is enormous. They really want to learn, and so there is a long way to go, right? Because
Yeah.
IKEA is a very large company, but I'm confident that as we go, we will be able to raise the overall level of data literacy
It
at
reminds me
IKEA.
because I was of course looking into you, and I saw that you have a cool course on data literacy already that also other companies and other people can use. I was looking online; it was priced down with 85% discount or something, only 15 euros. I think that's a great start. I will share the link later. It's I think Udemy, and the course name is the Data Literacy Course. Learn how to work with data. But I think it's a great start for organization if they don't know. Like sometimes it feels like there's a lot and everything needs to be done at the same time. But just start, and this can be a very
Yes.
easy way to already just get more knowledgeable about it.
Yes, that course, for example, is really for let's call them beginners, right?
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
it explains what is data, what are data.
Yeah.
I like to use the prol for that, right? It's about different ways of storing data and on premise,
Yeah.
in the cloud. What is a data warehouse? What is a data mart? We go a little bit into statistics, what is the mean, the median, etc. So it's really to get an overview about what are
Yeah.
data and
Interesting
how it can be
videos.
used. Yes, so
Back to the topic where I was. So the biggest data challenges for 2023. What do you think
mm.
those are?
Well, I see one big, well, if not a challenge, is a trend. And so perhaps you've heard of GPT-3 or Chat GPT,
I
right?
have heard of it. I have heard of it. Yes,
Yeah, or
once or
DALI,
twice.
etc. So it's all about this AI, right? And somehow it has captured the attention of many of our employees and also the executives. So I wouldn't say all of a sudden, but we see a
Yeah.
spike in interest, and uh, now people want to know more about data, and
It helps
we're
you.
being
It
it,
helps
it
your course.
certainly helps,
Yeah,
right?
your mission.
but but it's there's also a kind of danger, right? Because it goes far beyond just data literacy and looking at the chart, and so there might be the temptation to think that AI will is the silver bullet, and you push on a button and you get all kinds of answers,
Yeah.
which is what you get when you chat with ChatGPT, right? So we need to lower the expectations, and we need to set certain rules, and especially in the context of AI, right? And the EU is working on that, but it's about trustworthy
Yeah.
artificial intelligence. It's about transparency and about explainability, etc. And so I feel that things might be moving a bit too fast here in
Yeah.
2023, and we need to set the expectations. And when you have a cool tool like that out there, you also need to explain what are the limitations.
Yeah.
Also, to say that it's just an AI, right? So you cannot believe everything
Yeah.
that it says, right? In lately in the news, there were also some cases, right, with ChatGPT having some existential questions, etc. So I mean, you have this cool thing around, and you might be, tempted to overuse it, right? So this is going to be a challenge for me and for all other colleagues working in the data and analytics department, to slow down
Keep it
and
under
to explain.
control.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And but
So as
and this
a
is also about the data literacy, right?
yeah.
To fully appreciate data and to get into AI, right? Which is a good thing, but step by step, right? There's a lot of education to be done here.
I think that's a good remark. Step by step. Nobody is already there because also there doesn't exist. There's no finish line. We are all on the move and we do the best we can. And there's a lot of organizations and individuals as well that need to learn more about data because they want to stay ahead of the competition, or they're so it can make your life easier. It can make your work better. What kind of recommendations do you give for on data literacy specifically? How can you improve it for A, individuals, and for B, companies?
Well, then for individuals, I think I briefly mentioned this earlier on, right? It's not rocket science. We need to demystify the whole data and analytics thing, right? You have, of course, data scientists who are out there, right? But they're typically working on algorithms or models that are then fed into machines. So analytics for machines, right? This is not what I mean, it's part of data literacy, right? It's at the very end of the level of sophistication, right? But there's also light analytics or analytics for people when you are delivering some kind of insight or recommendation to a human decision maker, right? And you can either do that through an analyst, right? So you, as a decision maker, you give a brief, and that analyst will get their hands dirty and produce the analysis and give you the recommendations. But you need to be able to brief that
But I don't
analyst.
understand that it seems like a little bit complicated for me. What can I do as an individual? So there's an analyst and there's a briefing, but what can I do?
Yeah, well, so you need to be curious above all, right? You need to, if possible, explore the data yourself, right? So when you get presented a dashboard, right, during a meeting, right, and you see some kind of trend, you can ask, why is that, right? In dashboards, and like in Power BI or Click, etc., you can also double click on these things, right? Or you can use a so-called drill through, right, and go to the next screen where you can get more information. So use these data dynamically, right? Ask questions. It's very much about asking the right questions to the data or to the analyst, right? And to scratch a little bit on the surface, right? So the best advice I can give is to be curious, to be critical. When you get a piece of information, right, from anyone, ask, where is the evidence? Where did the data come from, right? Or double click on things. When you have, let's say, 10, you have the list of the top 10 products or stores, right, performing. So, and you have one outlier, one that is doing particularly good or particularly bad. Just ask why. What are the drivers of the performance for this specific store or product, and dig a little bit deeper. There must be explanations for that. So either you know it or the specialist knows it, but if not, then probably the answers are in the data. So you have to decompose, right? So for example, in online sales, you have the traffic, right, and then the conversion rate, and that's the number of purchases, right? And then the purchase is the revenue is the number of purchases times the average price. Things like that. You can decompose the different indicators and then look into what are the different drivers. So that exploration a process can be very fun, right? It's like a bit detective work,
and as you
right?
do
And
it,
you
it
find
gets easier.
exactly. When you're used to it, you do that naturally,
Yeah.
right? You want to understand your business, right? As a decision maker, and so either you ask someone or you do it yourself, and you know, doing it yourself and being curious, I think is the key recommendation that I would give to individuals.
And to companies?
To companies, of course, it's like an extrapolation of the recommendation that you would give to individuals, but companies need to kind of enable their coworkers, their
So that needs to be
employees
from
to
a
do.
C-level, from the MT needs to say, guys, this is important for us. You can't spend time on this. Or is
Yes.
that too easy?
No, that's probably too difficult, I would
Yeah.
say, because you know, the top down. I mean, of course, if the CEO or the C-level executives or the you know, the first two layers are data literate themselves, and if you want to lead by example, it
Yeah.
certainly helps, right? Because
Yeah.
it usually cascades down. If the CEO or CFO is asking data questions, then the person you know, who needs to answer them will also need to be data
Yeah.
literate. Otherwise, he or she would be in trouble. And then you can cascade it down, right? So leading by example. But when I mean enabling data, it's about, you know, maybe not everyone has reached that maturity, but maybe appointing a chief data officer, chief data and analytics officer, or develop and implement a data strategy, right? Or to
Yeah.
develop a data literacy program for those employees who are interested and motivated, and then gradually scale it up, right?
So you think it's not for all organizations useful to have a data strategy, or you think every organization should have one?
No, I think I'm super biased here, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm the
You say
preaching
everybody
for
should have it. Yeah.
everybody
Even if it's
should
just
have.
one paper, one A4,
Yeah, but
but start
every
somewhere.
company should also have a proper business model, right, and a strategy, right? But I would say that, just to limit it a little bit, every company who is producing data and who
Yeah,
has
but it's also
data
everybody.
should have a data
But
strategy
let's say that if you
in
have
place.
at least one full-time data professional, like a data engineer or data analyst, working for you, it would be already interesting to think about a little bit of a strategy.
Yeah, but this is perhaps just a transitory phase. If you are a, you know, one man
Yeah.
shop, right, selling stuff, let's say hot sauce on the internet or cosmetics, whatever, of course you'd better analyze your traffic,
Yeah.
right, and your data. So this is your company, and it's digital in nature, right? If you have a little bigger company, maybe you need an analyst, but ultimately the spot where you would like to be in is where all decision makers use data for themselves,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so yes, it can help to have a data scientist when you want to package analytics and productize them, right, in tools. That's certainly a very helpful you know, element in your strategy. But um, for me, the end game is that you know, when you have a that you create a the right assets, right, that are find so data products, right, that are findable and accessible, and that you can just visualize the data or download it or access these assets and play with the data, right?
Yeah.
Be it only 5 minutes per day, right? Or every Monday morning, right? Before you have your meeting, look at the data, but not just look at KPI. Is it up? Is it down? And where are we standing? But really questions where we are, look at rankings, look at charts, a scatter plot, for example, where you have 2 dimensions and you try to identify outliers. You try to find out who's doing particularly well. What can we learn from that? Who is doing particularly bad? How can we solve the problems? Things like that. So that it becomes of a part of the mindset, or that data drivenness becomes part of the
Make it a
DNA,
habit.
right? And that's what
Be
data
curious,
culture is.
ask
right?
questions, listen.
Exactly.
I think these
Yes.
are the things to start changing your data
Yes.
culture, as well as the data
Exactly.
products and services you provide.
Exactly. And it's a matter of mindset. So one recommendation I would also give to corporates, to companies, is really to think of data as assets, right? So nowadays, in that digital world that we're describing before, when you sell a product, you get 2 things. You get cash, right? Customers pay you, right?
Yeah.
And you get data, right? Now imagine if you get a lot of cash, right? And if you have no CFO, or if the CFO does not know what to do with the data, they put it in a safe, or they put it in a mattress, right?
Yeah.
You would leave, that would be very risky, right? Because your assets would be exposed. You would leave millions, or a lot of money on the table, right?
Yeah.
But so you have a CFO, right? It's like a no-brainer, and you treat financial assets or cash as as something
It's
very
important.
valuable. It's important, and you treasure it, right? You manage it actively, right? But people,
and it will generate more cash.
It can generate more cash. It generates value, right? If you manage your money correctly, you can make more money out of it, or you can invest it properly, right? Now, imagine that you would have no such CFO, or not managing. It would be crazy, right? But I think that this is what's happening in many companies with data. They leave it unsecure. They do all kinds of things. They don't clean the data. They mistreat it, I would like to say. And we need to stop that. And so it's an easy shift. Think of data as assets and treasure it the way you would do it with cash, right? If we have achieved that switch, right, then I think we would achieve a giant leap forward. And then that's also a recommendation I would give to
I think
companies.
That's a beautiful analogy to end the conversation with. I would like to thank you so much, Oliver, for your time today. I want people who like this talk and want to see more about it, follow us on either YouTube or Spotify. Thank you so much, and we will keep in touch. Maybe we can do a follow-up later on questions we get on it. And so if there's any questions, feel free to send them to us.
Would be my pleasure. Thank you very much, Vincent. Bye-bye.